Okay, so last time I saw you, we did long division, and today we are starting with synthetic division. And to teach you synthetic division, I'm going to first do a problem using long division and then show you how different it is using synthetic. It is absolutely okay, America. We're really just getting started. So if I were going to do this problem, all right, k cubed plus 6k squared minus 17k plus 14 divided by k minus 1, right? And I needed to do this in long division form. Well, we'd have to set up the little division box, right? And under it, we would put this whole mess of stuff, right? We go k cubed plus 6k squared minus 17k plus 14. And over here, we'd have the k minus 1. And we would work our way through this one at a time, right? I go, well, what can I multiply k times to get k cubed? And we go, oh, k squared. And then we go k squared times k gives us k cubed. We go k squared times negative 1 gives us negative k squared. And we put that parentheses and we'd subtract the whole thing. K cubed minus k cubed is 0. 6k squared minus a minus k, that's like saying plus, will give us 7k squared. And then we would drop this down and we'd start all over again, right? And I'll see the whole problem through. But just to refresh your memory in terms of long division. And then we go, well, what do we multiply k by to get 7k squared? Well, we would multiply it times a positive 7k. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to go 7k times k gives me 7k squared. Then we're going to go 7k times negative 1 gives me negative 7k. And we'll put the parentheses and the minus around it. And we'll do the same thing. We'll go 7k squared minus 7k squared is 0. Then we'll go minus 17 minus a minus is like 17 plus 7. So we're going to get negative 10k and bring down the plus 14. And we're going to keep going, right? This should be the last one because we're running out of things to multiply k by. K times negative 10 equals negative 10k. So I'm going to go negative 10 times k gives me negative 10k. Negative 10 times negative 1 gives me positive 10. And we are going to parentheses and subtract. These 0 out. This is 14 minus 10, which just gives me 4. And since k can't go into 4, we would write that as plus 4 over k minus 1. Does everyone remember that from last week? Does that like strike any kind of thing in your brain reminding you what we did last week? All right, I got some yeses. So this week we're going to learn a new and easier way to do it. We're going to take this same problem and we're going to do synthetic division on it. When we're doing synthetic division, I'm going to bring up a little thing that I posted this in your PowerSchool, so you'll have access to it when you're doing your assignments. But it's a little chart that tells you how to do synthetic division so that you can have a step-by-step while you're doing it. But what I want to do first, I'm going to move it down here for right now so that I can work right here. I'm going to start by writing down the coefficients. See this little box right here? We're going to create one of those. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. Right? I'm just going to go like this. And inside of it, I'm going to write all of the coefficients of our leading dividend, right? That's this part. What are the coefficients? They are the numbers in front of each k. Like they're all our numbers, right? And our constant. Now remember last week when we were doing long division, I said if any of these were ever missing, we had to put in a 0 for them. Do you guys remember that? Because the same thing would happen here, but we still have a 3, 2, 1, and then a constant. So we're good. And that is what we're going to list in here. If there's nothing in front of your variable, the coefficient is 1. So for our k cubed, we'd put 1. For our k squared, we would put 6. For our k value, we'd put negative 17. And then for our constant, we would have 14. And then on the outside here, we're going to put the opposite of whatever this is. So in this case, it's negative 1. So right here, we're going to put 1. Does that follow so far? All right. So next, we're going to drop this first term right down here. And then I'm going to multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. So I'm going to put 1 here. And I'm going to add these two items. 6 plus 1 is 7. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to multiply 1 times 7. Well, that's just 7. And when I add these two items together, I get negative 10. So 1 times negative 10 is negative 10. When I add these two pieces, I get 4. I'm going to show you the what about the k part. Right now, we're just dealing with the coefficients. So now we started, remember, in the original problem, we started with a k cubed, right? So all of these coefficients right here, all of these numbers are going to start with 1k less. So if I started with k cubed, this right here becomes k squared. This becomes plus 7k minus 10. This right here is our remainder. So we would write this as plus 4 over k minus 1. Notice these two answers are exactly the same. We just did it without having to move any of those variables around, right? We just took them all out and we did all that math without actually having to deal with writing all of this other stuff, right? Much simpler process, isn't it? Now, one thing to remember, this only works if we have a linear dividend. Like if this k were to have a power attached to it, what we were dividing by, then we would have to use regular long division. But as long as it doesn't have a power attached to it, you can use synthetic division. And are we going to do a bunch more of these? Absolutely. I love this little direction thing that I have right here. I think because, you're going to go home and you'll forget steps. But this little chart here, I think, explains things really, really well. One thing to keep in mind, the last term is your remainder. If it's 0, you just don't have a remainder, right? And think about this. It makes sense when you think about it. Because if you look over here at what I'm doing, I'm starting to move things with my hand like a magician. Right here, I'm starting with k cubed and I'm dividing by k. So definitely it's going to start 1 power less, right? Here, I'm starting with k squared. So definitely when I factor out a k, divide out a k, I'm going to have 1k less, right? So it's always going to be 1 power less that we're starting with. Let's do a few more of these. I think they're kind of fun. I always thought it was like magic when I learned how to do this. I'm like, this is so much easier. Um, let's look at x cubed plus 11x squared plus 20x minus 46 divided by x plus 5. So here we are again. We're going to draw our little thingy. I don't know what this thing's called. They call it a box, but I have a hard time calling it a box because it's like half a box. And I'm going to put in my coefficients. I'm going to check first. 3, 2, 1. Constant, we're good. We don't have to put in any dummies, any what they call dummy terms. My coefficient here, there's no lead coefficient, so it's just 1. My next one is 11. Then I've got 20, and then I've got negative 46. We are going to take the opposite of what's here. Here I have plus 5, so this is going to be negative 5. And now we're set up to start, right? We just have to drop our first term, which is 1. Negative 5 times 1 equals negative 5. 11 minus 5 equals 6. Negative 5 times 6 equals negative 30. 20 minus 30 equals negative 10. Negative 5 times negative 10 equals positive 50. And so we are going to wind up with 4 over here. We started with x cubed, which means that this right here becomes x squared plus 6x minus 10 plus our remainder is 4 over x plus 5. How much easier is that to do than long division? So much better, yes? No? Maybe? Yeah, I could do this stuff all day, right? Go super fast. You don't have to think. You're not like trying to figure out, well, what do I multiply this by to get that? And right? All you have to do, it's just multiplication and addition, right? At this point, at the end, you add in all the letters. Let's look at one where we're missing a term, right? What if I have 7m cubed minus 14m squared minus 10 divided by m minus 2. Whoa, this is just supposed to be 1. Minus 1. I mixed up 2 different problems. So, do you guys see the piece that's missing on this one? If I look and I'm going down on these m's, right? I got an m cubed and I have an m squared, but I don't have an m term in between here. So when we go to put this in synthetic division, and we would have to do this as well if we were doing regular long division. I just didn't show you any of these examples with long division. Is we're going to make our box. And so here for my cubed, I have 7. Here for my squared, I have negative 14. I do not have an m value. So where that would go, I'm going to put a 0. Right? And then for my numbers, I'm going to put negative 1. Otherwise, it's going to throw off the way we write this, right? It would look like that we had a negative 1m if I didn't have the 0 there, and we would put in a different value, right? We would probably ascribe it either a letter or we wouldn't make it the remainder. because it would be over 1. So we need to have that area to put the m in, even though that m is going to stay 0 by putting in the 0. So now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to take the opposite of this. This was -2, so we're going to put in 2. And we're going to drop down our 7. And we're going to go 7 times 2 is 14. And when I add those together, I get 0. 2 times 0 is 0. When I add those together, I get 0. 2 times 0 again is 0. When I add those together, I get -1. So if I'm going to put this back, now we know this first one, this started as an m cubed, so this is going to be 7m squared. This would be like 0 plus 0m plus 0 minus 1 over m minus 2, right? We don't need to write all of this garbage, right? We could reduce this to 7m squared minus 1 for m minus 2, right? Now, the good news is you're not doing this on Delta Math. So if you left me this, I'd know what happened. I'm not going to mark you down on something like that, right? I mean, if it was worth 10 points, I might take like a point off. But for the most part, I'm really not, because I can understand, I can see that you understand the process, right? The value of this isn't any different than the value of this. So it's not like I'm going to take points off or something like that. Because I'm mostly concerned that you know how to do it. Let's do one more. Let's do one more and we'll call it quits. We'll have an early day today. Let's do it in this ready color. Let's look at x cubed. I was looking for something that had something in front of the x cubed, but let's look at 8x cubed. Let's do 8x cubed plus 2x squared minus 4x minus 3 divided by x minus 1. I'm going to make our box. I'm going to put in my coefficients. We're going to check first. We've got a third power squared, 1 power, and a constant. We're good. We don't need a dummy in there. 8, 2, -4, -3. And then we're going to take the opposite of this. So we're going to go just 1. We're going to drop the 8. 1 times 8 is 8. When I add those together, I get 10. 1 times 10 is 10. And when I add -4 to 10, I get 6. 1 times 6 is 6. And when I add -3 to 6, I get +3. And now here we go. We started with x cubed. This becomes 8x squared plus 10x plus 6 plus 3 over x minus 1. So I left you some problems to play with. The worksheet is already posted in PowerSchool. Make sure you show me the work. Don't just give me an answer. Give me the box. Show me you actually doing it. It's not a ton of work. You'll email me the picture of the worksheet, or if you did it on Google Docs, email me the document. But that's all I got for you. I think I only put like 6 problems, I think, on it. I can't remember how many problems I gave you. I wasn't trying to bully you. Yeah, it looks like there's only 6 problems. I think maybe 2 of them are missing something, right, where you have to put the 0 in. But that's all I've got for you. Anybody got any questions about any of that? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So much easier than the other one, isn't it? Well, take a shot at those. If you have any questions, I do have tutoring hours. Please ask them if they come up. I know sometimes it's hard to know what to ask until you've played with it a little. But come into those times if you feel like you need it. I guess I can stop recording.